Hi, I'm Ellie from crystallinks.com. Today is Monday, June 24th, 2019, and I want to talk about something I did a written blog about this morning, and that is children with anxiety. Anxiety is part of a pattern that really goes to fear, uncertainty, depression at times. Usually it's under the same umbrella, and often panic attack, meaning the person can't function. Now, we recognize this in adults because most adults have suffered from anxiety, stress, and whatever throughout their lives. So they recognize it in themselves and they have coping mechanisms such as the taking a deep breath and relaxing. There's another tool that I use with my clients. It's you visualize a T, the letter T. You close your eyes. It might be up on one side or the other, and then you just visualize it coming into balance. Usually, one deep breath, a breathing mechanism, helps relieve the stress and the anxiety, but not always, because anxiety comes from different places. Now, recently, a friend of mine told me about his daughter, a happy, bubbly little girl. She's 9 years old, so I guess she's going into fourth grade in September. And the parents are divorced, but everything is cool with that. She's with her mom, she's with her dad, she's fine. Everything is well in her life, but her mom suffers from anxiety. And the bottom line with any emotional issue is that it comes genetically, okay? If you've got two parents with depression, anxiety, stress, fear, and panic, you're definitely one of the children is going to get it. But at least parents recognize it now, whereas they didn't years before, and they try their best to get help for the children. The easiest way to go is through therapy. The child can then sit down with someone, either a school counselor or a professional child therapist, and discuss, this is what's making me sad. This is why I can't get up in the morning. This is why I can't go to school. This is why I throw up every morning, at the very thought. There's underlining things, and it's usually not just one thing. I mean, there are several factors that could be affecting a child's behavior. They can't sleep, they don't eat well. There's different ways to go with this. There's the holistic approaches, there's Western medicine, which involves some medication. Counseling and discussing, to me, is a very good way to do it. As a matter of fact, the father of the 9-year-old little girl, in seeking ways for her, he doesn't have anxiety, but in seeking ways to help her, he stumbled into a, right now, part-time career as I guess you would call it a therapist. There's so many other different ways to look at it. It's a life coach. That's the words I was looking for. And he discovered that he's really good at it. He's good at helping people. He's taking classes. He's developing a whole technique, and he may want to make this his full-time career. On my Facebook, there are more people who ask for friendships because they're life coaches than anything else. They're all the same. It's counseling. It's different degrees, okay? I'm a therapist because I have a master's in psychology. Other people take other courses, take different routes. But basically what you're doing is you're helping people first recognize they have a problem. That's number one. I have a problem, same as other people, okay? Number two, once recognized, I am going to go for help, and I'm going to see what I can do and how I could work it out. Three, once you go for this help, you may have to dig deep into your psyche all the way back to when you were a child, and your anxiety may have been prevalent then, and it's the issues that went on within the family that caused this to happen. So it's taking a long, hard look at your genetic codes, your family background, and saying, I have anxiety. How can I help my child? Some children can be helped, and there are others whose genetic code makes it impossible to get simple help. They really do need medication, and occasionally, for a short period of time, they may need hospitalization or some sort of rehab or a place where they could go to deal with their issues. It depends how bad the situation is. When I blogged about children and anxiety today, it's not just because of the client, that was the primary thing, but also because I read parents. I don't read any what I call children because they're younger than 18. They have to be older than 18, and even at 18, I have to know that I can believe them, and they have to come with a parent, or the parent has to call and say, yes, I'm going to drop my child off, and he or she has permission, because then I can talk to them in two different capacities, and whether they'll listen or not, everything's recorded. They can go back and listen to the recording later on and see who and what. I gave up working as a life coach and as a therapist only because I like to cut to the chase. Maybe it's my Aquarian nature, I don't know, but I like to just be able to say, talk to the person who's the client, talk about their issues, talk about where they're coming from, and then just cut to the chase and tell them it may take you 5 years, it may take you 3 months to find the answers you're looking for, or if it's genetic and you suffer from clinical depression, it's a lifetime experience where sometimes you'll have your high highs and your low lows, and there's nothing much you can do, but I can just say it. I don't have to ask the questions. We've done the questions, and now we understand what being depressed, having anxiety from childhood on, creates in terms of patterns, and you finding your career and your life partner, if such a thing exists anymore. I think it does, but that's because I'm a romantic. But there's so many things out there, and what are you doing to sabotage? Okay, so there's a lot of things. Now, I believe that the first 20 years of your life is your childhood, and that's when you really start to embrace who you are, what you're about. By age 20, the mental illness comes out, okay? The anxiety is something, even if you don't feel anxious, like, yeah, life's going on, you may feel it when you lay down at night. You may feel this little puttity thing, in your chest. That's anxiety. You may not need meds. You may need some breathing exercises, meditation, yoga, whatever works for you. But children need these things too, and you need to recognize, if you're raising a child, yours or somebody else's, you need to recognize symptoms. You can't always rely on teachers to do it. They're there to teach. I was a teacher and a therapist, but a teacher is there to teach. This is today's lesson, and this is what we're going to do, and I'm not going to sit here and play shrink to a whole class of children, but a teacher should be able to send a child out that they think something's wrong. Then you deal, this is why I gave up all the teaching and all of that, then you deal with parents. There's nothing wrong with my child. They'll say, no, my child doesn't have anxiety. My child's fine. Look how happy he or she is. But let's get back to what makes children anxious. So I wrote a little list here, and I will put the address of this blog under the video. There's family issues. There's abuse, emotional, physical, intellectual abuse. There's divorce. There's finance. When you think that you and your partner, or whoever you're sharing expenses with it all, have financial crises, children feel it. They feel it. And then there's death, and that's a whole thing that causes anxiety. The grandma maybe who nurtured and took care of them, that person is suddenly is gone from the child's life, and they have to deal with that. Then we come to where they spend a good part of their life, and that's in school. And these are the things I listed that would give a child anxiety. Test taking, learning challenges, and people, treating you as a little bit different, which takes us into bullying, okay? Bullying is a terrible thing. Your sense of self-esteem, being rejected by peers. And then we shift completely over to something that children in current years think about. You may not know they think about it, but there should be school meetings about this, parents, teachers, the shootings, the people who just come into the schools and they shoot students, and they shoot anybody they can see. And usually these are students who went to that school who were just mentally unstable. Kids think about this. I've asked my grandchildren, do you ever worry that someone will come into your school and shoot up the school? And Mostly they don't. They feel safe, but it can happen. It definitely can happen. Then with school, if we're going a little bit older with the children, anxiety is from tuition fees, student loans. Should I be going to a community college for the first 2 years and then move on because of the student loans? Can I pay them back? You may not think this creates anxiety in students, but it does. They are very because that's all you hear about is oh, I'm like 50 years old and I haven't paid back my student loan yet. They think about these things, and these are other causes. And then there's, with school also, there's deadlines, okay? A child may want to play. They may need to relax and play some sport or some online tech game or something after school, but the report is due, the test is due. All of that, just speaking about it, is giving me anxiety, and I don't suffer from anxiety. Okay, then there is social media. And we know that social media definitely creates anxiety for students. There's no two ways about it. Who's saying this about me, Who's saying that I'm too fat, I'm too thin, my hair isn't right, this isn't good. I mean, this is big now. It's really, and it's very detrimental. As far as I'm concerned, I do away with social media, but that's just me, because I know it does good. I know it has a very positive aspect to it, but it can really, really be very hurtful and very harming to people. Now, I go to the big picture. Students go to school, and very often, this is a common topic and they have to know about it, especially if they're living in flood zone areas and whatever, climate change and natural disasters, okay? A lot of people who live anywhere in the whole world, students hear about, well, we could get flooded out and this is the end of the world. I assume if you live in Central and South America where everything is shaking and breaking all the time, you're like, okay, this is it. We're going to feel that shaking and we're done, and that brings anxiety. Then there's war. Okay, dad's away at war. Maybe you live in a country that's at war and you're seeing this. That's anxiety. Then, of course, we have immigration. And all that children see and talk about has to do with child immigration coming over the United States southern border, and how these children are caged and treated terribly and separated from parents. You don't think that they're not suffering from serious anxiety? Okay, another thing affecting children, I call it the Trump factor, okay? They may sort of pay attention to Trump depending on their age, and maybe they have to for school or whatever, but the bottom line is they're hearing what parents are saying and adults around them are saying about Trump. There's a whole world of people who are so worried about Trump bringing us into a war with North Korea, with Iran, with China. I mean, these people walk around and they're just panicked at the whole thought of Trump. And this ripples down to the children. So when they see Trump, they hear Trump, and as they get older, they understand, wait a minute, he lied about 20 things today. He doesn't know what he's saying. It's more anxiety. We're doing anxiety. Then there is the internal feeling. We are in a simulation. That may or may not be understood by children, because I have clients who told me they know we live in a simulation or this is an illusion since they were children. It just clicked into their brain. This is a simulation, it's not real. But the knowing that we live in a simulation and that reality is soon going to end, but what does it mean? Does it mean we're going to be taken out by war, by climate, by natural disasters? How is it going to end? Children think about that. They think about things they cannot control in their lives that are affecting everyone. So I'm sure there are other factors, but then there's this about children. Very often, children or parents of children will come to me and say, Ellie, my daughter or my son or my grandchild, whoever, don't believe that they're from this world or from this reality. They just don't believe it. They feel that, not that they're an alien, but that they come from somewhere else. They're here for a period of time and they're leaving. And in the time they're here, life, as they get older, it makes less and less sense to them because they feel that they're from somewhere else. This is a growing thing. This has always happened. There have always been people who say, I'm from the stars, I'm a star child, a star seed, or however they want to look at it. But, and I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but if you don't feel you're from here and you're seeing what's going on, this is internally, in your dreams, in maybe you meditate, and it's in even children. Children are taught now to relax and have a short meditation without dozing off. Children will doze off quickly, but there's a lot of things having to do with, why is my soul here? And then, of course, as we move this into the adult life, people don't want to do things that don't have meaning to them, that don't help others. It's just all in our DNA codes. It's in our genetics. To everybody across the board, all the grids, they're all starting to think the same thoughts. Now, the actual simulation and or illusion, hologram, however you see it, matrix, I don't care, but it actually is vibrating a little faster as it comes to closure, and that frequency too creates this increase in anxiety for everyone, not just children, but for adults. Adults can read up on it and go, why am I feeling this? I have no reason to feel this, but they do. So whether it's internal, external, other people causing it, your genetics, children are experiencing everything that adults are experiencing, and they also need to talk to someone. They need to get help. And if they need a little bit of medication or change in diet or whatever, it really needs to be recognized. The change in diet is a big thing because children are prone to junk food. They like sugar, they like whatever. And I mean, you can't deny them and never give them sugar. I've had people who come here and tell me, when I was a child, my mother never gave me sugar. Look at me now, I'm 200 pounds, No, it's not about that. It's just creating a balance. With parents who work, this is a little bit more difficult than stay-at-home parents, and those parents are few and far between now. Most people, most adults, either have to work or want to work or both, okay? They want to get out. They don't want to just sit home and listen to children who are whiny and crying and teething, and you tell them, no, we have to do our homework now, and they say no, and all of that obnoxious behavior. That's a normal child, not even one with anxiety. But you have to go online and look for symptoms of anxiety, which really is in here, and a reluctance on the child to want to do things, to socialize, to be part of things. It's just the way it is. We really, we seem like we're more civilized, sort of. I don't think so. But we do have technology. And technology says, oh, okay, that's going to make us more civilized. We're not. We're really not. We're the same cave person back then. Okay, self-medicating on whatever they found, herbs, hallucinogens, whatever. I read an article last week that the people who did the pictograms on the rocks and the cave walls and all of them, they were high. I didn't know that, but they were. And it's like we're repeating the same pattern in another cycle, and we're learning to cope. The only thing that I see that's different and is that this is the end of the whole simulation and illusion. It could end simply, like fades to black. It'll go navy blue and then black, but it'll just fade to black. That's it. I could be sitting here talking to you and everything fades to black, or it could take another turn, and we could, between now and that fade to black moment, and the children feel it. They know it, just like animals. You read about animals, you hear about animals who get panicked before an earthquake, before something happens. They just know a storm or tornado. I mean, don't underestimate your child. Everything is out there. They're faster learners now. They're smarter than we were. They understand at a different level, and they experience anxiety if not equal to, more than, because an adult can do something to relieve it. A child needs someone to show them the way. So on that note, if there's any children around you, or if you're still a teen watching this and you feel anxiety, it's time to get help, okay? And just, there's nothing really you could do to change what's going to happen, whether it's Trump or natural disasters or climate or whatever, because we're in flood stories now. And the news this morning was about, well, this floods, they're not even happening slowly. These storms are like going from middle of the country all the way to the Atlantic, like boom, overnight. You got to brace, you got to prepare, and you got to say, okay, if my family does have to evacuate because of a tornado or an earthquake, what would I take with me? Okay, my little stuffed toy or whatever works for you. So on that note, seek whatever help you can. If you have a child that needs it, please do whatever you can to find help. And till next time.